Folks, it is day 7 of Lent, which means Lent is a week in. And yesterday I received a question from Mickey Kelly asking if I had any recommendations for reading material throughout Lent. And since it is already a week into Lent, I thought I'd bump this one to the top of the list because there are reading materials that you could still start now if you haven't already started reading something for Lent or are still kind of wondering what maybe you should do. So I'm Allie Marie and this is my Catholic perspective. If you're interested in following this Lenten daily reflection journey, you can hit the subscribe button and the little church bell. You'll get a notification for every post and we will keep up with you in the comments. So let's get started. I have 6 books here, I think. So number 1. One Bread, One Body. It is a devotional from presentationministries.com that I get in the mail. I don't know if this will ever oh look, I can hold it really close. So this is my number 1 favorite book. I read this all throughout the year actually, but they typically have a Lenten version. Maybe your church hands out the little black book of Lent. Those can also be really helpful. One Bread, One Body references Bible verses and catechism references all throughout it, which is why I love this one. There's another one called Living Faith that I used to order and receive in the mail that also has Lenten observances. It's also you can order it all throughout the year. That one's a little bit more applicable, a little bit more blessed is she style. So if you like things to be a little simpler and not as much rooted in doctrine, maybe you'd like that one more, but this is the one that I have now and ascribe to. So then, Thomas A. Kempis, The Imitation of Christ. This book is life-changing and phenomenal. This is a bunch of reflections by Thomas A. Kempis. It's all about meditating, how to grow closer to Christ, and it's cut up into different little sections. So you could read a section a day. Sometimes they're kind of short, so you could read 2 sections a day. But if you're looking in a way of how to become more Christ-like, these reflections are awesome and just very applicable. You can sit with them, pray about them, meditate on them. A lot of it will have discussions, it's like the voice of Christ and then the disciple, and it kind of is more of a dialogue between God and ourselves. So this is a really good option if you're struggling with hearing from God or not knowing what to say to God. This one could be a really good resource for kind of understanding how that dialogue may sound. So that one's great. I have a one for girls, Choosing Beauty. This is a 30-day spiritual makeover for women. This is written by Gina Lauer. She went to Franciscan University, and it essentially, if you are looking at giving up makeup for Lent, I would strongly recommend using this book as a guideline alongside it. That is what I did for one Lent a while back, and it just talks about all the virtues. I think it's choosing beauty, and then it goes through the virtues of prudence, justice, fortitude, temperance, faith, hope, charity, virtue versus vice, and virtuous womanhood. So those are all the chapters, and then each one has 3 subsections and a meditation piece to it as well. This just really helped with kind of going alongside someone because she also did the 30-day challenge kind of as she was writing it. So she talks about how she felt insecure, and then, as the time went on, all of a sudden people talked to her like a normal human being, even when she wasn't wearing makeup. And I'm not wearing makeup today, and I'm totally fine getting on camera with you guys. So this is a really great book, even outside of Lent. If you are already doing a daily devotional or don't want to do makeup now, this is always a good read for the future. I reference it quite a bit. This one is actually from my Protestant days that I would still recommend as a Catholic. Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. This book is really helpful. I mean, the tagline is, "What on earth am I here for?" And although it's not Catholic, it doesn't have any, from what I remember, it doesn't have any overtly anti-Catholic sentiment with it. If anything, I think he actually references Catholicism and is open to what they believe, but it's just not what Rick Warren subscribes to. But it is just, it has the heart of worship, and every section at the end, it has a point to ponder, a verse to remember, and a question to consider. So, and it just really dives into what are you doing with your life and what are you going to do to get there? If you feel called to be a missionary, what steps are you taking to get to that point where you are in fact a missionary? And so this book is awesome, even though Rick himself is not a Catholic. Gotta love our Protestant brothers and sisters who do, in fact, know what they're talking about. So that one's great. Recommend that. Meditations with St. Teresa of Avila. A Journey into the Sacred. I debated between this one and Interior Castle. When I first converted, Interior Castle really helped me understand purgatory on a different level. But as far as like a Lenten reading, I felt that Meditations with Teresa of Avila was much more applicable just because it's broken up into sections. You can do it as a day-to-day read and you don't have to like read a chapter at a time or something like that. This one's broken up more for a Lenten format. It actually would go beyond Lent, so maybe that would help you. I think it has like 65 meditations or something like that. Yeah, 65. So doing that can be helpful if you're trying to deepen your prayer life. Obviously, she is a Carmelite, and I have gotten some real depth in some of these meditations with like, imagine you're in a castle and you're walking through and it's made of crystal. Like, what do you see? And like, through some of these meditations, like I've encountered the apostles and things like that. So her ability to help us get on that Carmelite, like mystical meditations, it's just awesome. So that's really good. Two books that I want to recommend by Matthew Kelly that I actually don't have any of in my house because I've given them away. Rediscover Jesus and Resisting Happiness. They are both great tools. They're day-to-day reads, so it's like just a couple pages a day. And Matthew Kelly has just an amazing way of relating with people on a very personal and like kind of basic level to what's intrinsic to our being. In his book, Resisting Happiness, he talks a lot about overcoming, like, why do we do self-defeating behavior? So it's like, why are we hitting the snooze button? Why are we doing things that we know will harm us? And, like he had to overcome going through cancer and he had to go through cancer treatment. And it's like, what did he have to do to overcome eating the sweet foods that he knew would feed the cancer further instead of like eating healthy foods? So there are a lot of aspects that he dives into in that book, and he does it. Resisting Happiness is the first one that he actually dives into his very personal life because he had tried up until that point to kind of keep it a little separate. But yeah, so Resisting Happiness and then Rediscover Jesus. I like Rediscover Jesus more than Rediscover Catholicism just because, or even like any of his other books there for like a Lenten practice, just because it's easier to read and it's more applicable to our daily life. It's not so much, here are the doctrinal things, it's just more, we need to love more, we need to live Christ out more, like how can we become more like Christ in our daily lives? So that would be my main recommendation there. And then the last one that I wanted to recommend today, which I will actually be diving into deeper tomorrow due to other questions I have received on it, is 33 Days to Morning Glory. This is written by Father Michael Gately. It is a summarization of the Consecration to Mary by St. Louis de Montfort, and it essentially just makes it accessible to the layperson. Louis de Montfort is very heavy in his wordings and is very a little more difficult to understand. So 33 Days to Morning Glory breaks it up. It breaks it up into the individual days, and it's very just easy to read. And at the end of each section, there's a little prayer like, "Come, Holy Spirit, living in Mary, help me to be the one to console Jesus with Mary." And yeah, so this book is just really great in comparison to the Louis de Montfort one if you're looking for something that's like simple to read and a little bit easier to relate with. A lot of parishes I know too will do this in a small group setting because Father Gately actually has a video series that goes right alongside this book. So maybe check out a local parish. They might actually be doing this and you could just join them now. One of the fun reasons of doing this during Lent is because the Annunciation of our Lord to Mary is on March 25th. So a lot of times if you do it during Lent, the end date actually lines up with the ending of the consecration to Mary. So tomorrow I'll be talking about what that means. Like, what does it mean to consecrate myself to Mary? Like, isn't Jesus the only person I should really be thinking about? And what does Mary have to do with any of that? So, yeah, so I'll be going into that tomorrow. But that book, is very cool. I'll also be talking about my own consecration to Mary and how that's looked in my Catholic life. So that might be 2 separate videos for the upcoming 2 days, but we will see kind of how tomorrow's video ends up being laid out. So there you have it. Those are all my Lenten recommendations. I have a whole slew of other books that I could recommend for any other time during the year. But if you're looking for Lenten stuff, I would highly recommend those. So thanks, Mickey, for the question. I appreciate it. It was kind of fun to look through my books again and be like, what have I read for Lent? And what have I read that maybe would have been better during Lent with the focus of actually growing toward Christ and preparing for his death and resurrection? And yeah, those are just the best ones that I had on my shelf. So I'm kind of curious on what your guys' favorite books to read through Lent are. Are you currently reading a book? Are you looking for something new to read? Let me know in the comments. I'll put all the titles of these books in the description box below. So again, if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button on your way to that info box. And we will see you tomorrow talking about the consecration to our mother. So God bless you all. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. God bless.